Hi, I'm Dan with Core Window Coverings, and today I'm interviewing Ronniesha Rivera from Studio 8 Interiors.
And we're going to talk about window coverings. A little bit better. So I'm Ronniesha. I'm the owner and principal designer of Studio 8 Interiors.
We've recently done a project with you. Actually, we're going on our second project now. I just wanted to ask you some questions about window coverings and how they play a role in interior design, and I'll see how you tackle that part of the project. First question is, what factors do you consider when selecting window coverings for a particular space? And how do you ensure they complement the overall interior design scheme?
I would say one major factor, and this is something that came up when we were working on the lodge, was just what does the client need for the space? And so that client really they have to sleep in a completely pitch dark room. They if there's any light, they just can't sleep. And so for the lodge, that was one factor that I had to take into account when selecting fabric and even selecting the kind of window treatments. So pairing, the rollers with the actual drapes and doing more of like a hotel style drape. I think that that was one thing that I worked with you guys on how can we achieve kind of what the client needs for the space. Every client's different. Every space is different, and so taking into account what they need first and foremost, and then the design kind of complements that.
So what you're saying is function comes first, and then you work the design around the function of the drapes.
Totally, yeah.
My next question is, could you discuss a recent project where you faced challenges in choosing appropriate window coverings? And then how did you address those challenges? And then what were the solutions?
I would say it was less of a challenge, more of I don't know how to explain it, but again, at the lodge, I had a different vision for what I wanted for the window treatments than what the client wanted. Just in a sense of I'm really comfortable with white and light and airy. And the client, like I said, wanted something very they wanted brown, like something very dark. And so that's a challenge because sometimes what I personally like from a design, like from a professional design standpoint, is not what the client wants. And so then you're kind of doing dark brown drapes. It's going to make the room feel heavy. It's going to make the room feel like it's just going to be a focal point in a negative way for that space. So how do we compromise? How do we find somewhere in the middle where we're not putting up brown drapes that, in my opinion, would be dated in a couple years versus what the client wants. And so we kind of settled on doing more of an oatmeal. I feel like the ones at the lodge were more of an oatmeal. So they weren't white, but they weren't brown. They're kind of somewhere in the middle.
So there's definitely some compromise.
Yes, there's some compromise. So we could have probably even gone darker, but I was like, I don't want to. I did not want to.
Well, so that sounds like there is a little bit of compromise there. So that's something that clients can't expect from you. It's not your way or the highway necessarily. How do you stay updated on the latest trends and technological advancements in window coverings? And then can you provide an example of how you've integrated new technologies or innovation into your designs?
So that kind of brings me to Gazer and the project that we're starting now. As far as keeping up with new trends in technology, I feel like I really do rely on my window treatment professionals just to tell me I always can convey what I'm trying to get after. Oh, I know that we want this aspect. And then you guys have been really great about okay, these are your options. You could do this, you could do this, or you could do this. And then we kind of work together to find a solution for the client. So I feel like I rely a lot on you guys and your expertise on what's kind of out there, what's available, what companies are carrying different things and stuff like that. And then more specifically with the lodge, we It's my first time tying into the C4 system and doing any type of like integrated, automated. Yeah. So then I was like, is this something that like you guys have heard of? Can you do it? And then you guys were like, yeah, we can take care of it. And so that was a first for me. And it's still, I still have obviously yet to see it in action, but things like that where like I'm able to be like, this is the technology, like this is the vision that I'm trying to get after. Can you guys help me bring it to life with my client? And then you guys are like, yeah, like these are your options. I think that has worked really well for us.
Motorization on window coverings definitely brings another level of function. A lot of the homes around here have those higher windows. The ones at the cabin in Gauze are completely out of reach. So, and luckily we have a system where we can recharge those batteries without having to even get on a ladder. And then the fact that that's tied into all your different DIY and home automation systems now, Control 4 being the most popular, that really helps the designer as well.
I feel like as we do more projects and I like kind of get more experience in window coverings, like at the lodge, I had never done like the automated big ones, and even learning how to charge like the wand, like put the wand up there and charge it was new for me. Yeah, you plug it in and you put it on the wall. So now I know next time if I want to do a solution like that, it's really convenient to have an outlet right there, so you can plug it in. So I know I can plan for those things for my next project. Each project and each new technology that I learned through you guys just betters my knowledge for the next project and planning the electrical and planning some of those detail elements. Because essentially, when somebody brings in an interior designer, that's what they're expecting. They're expecting somebody who has that knowledge and can have that forethought and can really plan, like really get in the details.
Yeah, we're trying to incorporate pre-wiring for shades now, and it's been easier than ever to recharge batteries in shades. However, you have customers that don't live at their homes most of the year, and when they come back and a shade's not working properly, it's usually because it needs charged, but they don't know the ins and outs of their build yet. It takes some time to learn everything. But if you have a shade that's connected to a switch that's got power running continuously to it, you never have to worry about that. And definitely less callbacks for everybody involved. Even though window treatments are window treatments specific to us, the designers probably get calls about window treatments because they let's my shade's not working or something like that. So something that creates less callbacks in the future is helpful. But yeah, that's just something that we're trying to work with builders in our area to incorporate.
Yeah, I will say, I will add, that was one thing that was kind of like a learning curve for me. Is like, I think sometimes clients think of window treatments as like an afterthought, like when furniture's going in, then the window treatments go in, which is true. But you should really be planning your window treatments at the beginning. Yeah, it goes with all the planning of the electrical, the plumbing, like yeah, with the color when you're planning out your furniture, your hard surfaces, hard finishes, your window treatments should be a part of that conversation. And so with the lodge, I think that like that was something that I learned. Like, okay, I don't remember when I brought you guys on, but I'm pretty sure that like drywall was already up. Yeah. So then doing something like hard wiring and things like that wasn't really an option. So then I was like, okay, for my next project, I know that like getting you guys in the conversation pretty early on so that if we're doing something that requires hard wiring or we can kind of tackle that before, and it just makes the whole process smoother. So yeah, I think that's like a big thing that I learned and that I'll educate my clients on is window treatments should be definitely planned from the beginning when you're.
As far as window covering trends go, for 2024, what trends are you seeing as far as colors, fabrics, styles? What do you feel as a designer in the Spokane and North Idaho area that you see more of, or something that's different?
Oh, that's tricky because like I feel like it's two different like trends going on in general is vastly different than trends going on in the area. Even between Coeur d'Alene and Spokane, Washington to Idaho is very different. I feel like Spokane is still playing it very safe, and window treatments are not as like forefront of the design of the build. And then I feel like in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, like you're seeing a lot more people thinking about window treatments, and I don't know if it's because most of my projects are like mountainous, and so higher elevation, more sunlight coming in. I have no clue. I could see for 2024 more color coming in, more like heavy pattern coming in. um, but that's more like also kind of like a general thing too.
Heavier patterns and a little bit more colors. Okay. Less of the beige, grayish,
Oh, I know
neutrals.
people are rejecting beige, grayish, Spokane tan.
Spokane.
Yeah. Because I feel like I work with a lot of vendors, whether it's for window treatments, custom furniture, lighting, everything, tons and tons of vendors. And as a designer, it's like you're working with so many people and you're managing so many different personalities. So anytime I work with a vendor who I can say, hey, this is what I need, this is the time frame that I need it. Like, can we, is that in your guys' scope? You guys are always really good about communicating yes or no, whether it's in the realms of what you guys can do. And like a lot of the times I'm like, oh crap, I need to like schedule them to go on site and measure. And I'll like email you guys or call you guys. And I'm like, I need you guys to go on site. And you're like, oh, we've already scheduled it for Monday. I'm like, that's amazing. Like, that is amazing. So it's like you guys are on top of your schedules. And I cannot say that about every vendor or rep. Like, that's just not common to be so on top of things and be so organized and professional. And I know that I can send you onto a job site and I don't have to worry about anything, like, because you guys are professional and you understand the balance between it all. So I really appreciate that. Like, yeah, because it's just so important.
Yeah, we definitely we choose our ideal clients. We just want to do a good job for everybody that we work with. If we can't take on a workload, we'll say, hey, we can't do this right now. But we'd like to have your business in the future when we're ready for it.
Well, I'm gonna predict my own trend. What about doing like everything in the space is neutral, and then like the only pops of color are the window treatments? I just made my own trend. Like everything is neutral, everything is kind of like maybe even like monochrome, like yeah, yeah. And then the window treatments are that pop of color, are that accent piece, and it does. It has to be the right client, it has to be the right application. But I think when people think of a pop of color, they think of like, oh, I want to get a pop of color. And I want it to be like the throw pillows or a blanket. So if they don't like it, they can get rid of it. But what if it's a pop of color and it's like gonna be there forever? I don't know.
Ronniesha, what are your goals for the 2024, your upcoming 2024?
I have some tea to spill. So I mean, I started Studio 8 almost 3 years ago. And when I initially started it, I was put in a position where I needed to start it. Like, I left my previous job as a designer for a construction firm and I needed it to work. And so I just picked a name and yep, I threw up my website and I just jumped right into it. And now that I'm 3 years later, I just have such a different vision for my company. And I'm so much more intentional. And like the projects I work on are so much more like intimate and like personal. Yeah. And so I just started thinking about Studio 8 and how I feel like it's like it felt like something so in the past, and I never really loved the name, the business name Studio 8. And I just was like, I think I'm ready to kind of shed Studio 8 and kind of go into a new brand. It's the same look and feel, but it's a lot more polished. I won't say the I'm changing my name.
That was my next question.
I'm changing my business name. It'll drop 2024, but it's just a new brand, new intentions, new look and feel, and I'm really excited about it. Yeah, so that's my number one goal is to just come out with a new brand and rebrand my social media and say goodbye to Studio 8. It's a lot of work, and it's kind of scary because I've built something with Studio 8 and people know Studio 8, and I feel like, what if somebody tries to go to my website and it's not there, and then I'm losing. There's all these things that like go through your head when you're letting go of a previous company, basically. But I think it's so much for the better, and I think the new brand is so much more in alignment with my own personal style of interior design. I know there's a lot of interior designers, and it's like a big topic amongst interior designers, like, what's your style? And some designers, they'll design in any style. You can ask them for Victorian, and they can do Victorian. They can do ultra modern. But for me, I just noticed that with like the Lodge and with Gazer, those styles just resonated with me so much more. And I felt like I was closer with the client because of it, because it was like closer to my personal style. It made designing so much more easier. Like it flowed so much better. And so I just was like, I want more of that feeling. I want more of that client. I want more of that style. It's more of like a rustic, modern. The Lodge is a little bit more rustic, and then Gazer's a little bit more glam. So, like, kind of fusing the two and getting more projects that are like destination places that people want to do fun stuff and try new things. So that's my main goal for 2024, is to come out with that. And then I did obviously just have a baby. So I am planning a little bit of a maternity leave. Please take like 2 months off to just be a mom and have fun with my daughter, and then get back on the saddle after that.